it took somebody with your tenacity to negotiate that agreement. Yeah. And as you said, it took 13 days to come to accord. What was the turning point, Mr. President?
Well, there were two turning points. One was after 3 days of trying to get Begin and Sadat to talk to each other, I gave up. They were absolutely incompatible. I mean, hands were practically at each other's throats as they resurrected old grievances. So for the next 10 days, I never let them see each other. Really, Begin stayed in his house and cabin, and Sadat stayed in his, and they never saw each other at all. I went back and forth between the two. And we got down to the point, so there was just one final agreement that Begin wouldn't agree to. Begin was the most reluctant Israeli there. All of his cabinet members and all of his staff, there were about 50 of them, were in favor of taking my recommendations. Sadat was ahead of every Egyptian. Sadat accepted what I said, but his staff wouldn't do it. And his foreign minister resigned and left Camp David in protest, resigned as foreign minister of Egypt. Anyway, the last day was a turning point because we thought we had failed. And we were getting ready to leave Camp David in failure and go back to Washington and announce that we had not been successful. And Prime Minister Begin asked me if I would sign a photograph for his 8 grandchildren of me and Begin and Sadat. And I agreed to do it. And my secretary, whose name was Susan Clow, got the names of Begin's 8 grandchildren from Israel. She called over there and got their names. So instead of saying best wishes, Jimmy Carter, I said with love and best wishes to, and I put down his grandchild's name and I signed it. And I took it over to his cabin to tell him goodbye. And when he opened the door, he was very angry with me. And he said, "Good afternoon, Mr. President." He was always very proper. And I said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm sorry we hadn't been successful. I brought the photographs you asked for." And I gave the photographs to him. And he turned around and said, "Thank you, sir." And then he looked down at the photographs. And he read out loud, "Love and best wishes to," and he read his grandchild's name. And he put that over in the back, and he read the next one's name. And he read the third one's name, and his chin began to quiver, and tears ran down his cheeks, and mine too. And he said on the face, "Why don't we try one more time?"